Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different, not just because I'm actually here by myself, but also because I've been thinking a lot about, some of the comments that we see and people that I know that, help product test, and they'll be like, how much? And I'll say how much of some of the stuff. And sometimes their reaction is, yeah, I'm not going to pay that much when I can figure it out some other way. And so one of the things that I said to Doug was, I'd love for us to do just a short segment and point out some of the things that you don't have to buy what we're reviewing if you're on a budget. If, depending on when this is done and posted, it might be just before the holiday, it might be just after the holiday. But this time of year, late in the year, early in the next year, is when people start looking for their tax refunds and money's a little tight because you may have spent a little too much on Christmas, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to go through a couple things that I think are worthy of mentioning, to where you can buy just generic items that are not necessarily made for weed or cannabis or any of the devices. Maybe they weren't made for weed, but we found that they're really inexpensive ways to do things. And the biggest one for me is brushes. If you guys have watched the channel before, you know that I am such a maniac about keeping stuff clean. And of course, when you buy Mild High Cleaner, you get the brushes with it that are bendable and reusable, and they're awesome. That comes when you buy the Mild High Cleaner from our friend Jim Barry. But sometimes you've got other things that you need to clean. And I had bought some brushes before I had Mild High Cleaner. And there are so many different kinds of brushes on Amazon. And I mentioned in another video, we're setting up an Amazon storefront and some of this stuff will be in it. But these are bottle brushes that I bought on Amazon. I think they're supposed to be used when you have an infant or a baby to clean their stuff. These are really great when you're cleaning out big bowls. One of the things that comes to mind for me is the Chill Steel Pipe, which was in our holiday gift guide last year. It's, you can disassemble it. And so when you pull the tube off, this does a great job of going in the tube after you put your Mile High in, do it in one swoop. And then this, if you bend this, you can pull it around the lip of the Chill Steel Pipe. But these come in really handy. And, you don't have to buy brushes that are specially made for weed. You can buy brushes that are made for cleaning just about anything and find a way for them. The other thing that I think is super fun, and this is not just for weed, this is something I do at home anyway. For those of you that have ever been to Dollar Tree, you know that they have a cosmetics aisle. There's a few things that I think people could pick up in that aisle for on the cheap that's really effective. One is alcohol wipes. If you're someone that insists that you need to use ISO, you don't have to buy a bottle and, giant thing of Q-tips and all the stuff. You don't have to do any of that. You can buy alcohol wipes that are already made for $1.25 at Dollar Tree and use those if you want to wipe things down. Also in the cosmetics aisle are inexpensive makeup brushes. These are not from Dollar Tree. These are e.l.f. eyes, lips, and face. If there's any females in the audience, I think there are 3. You've heard of e.l.f. They sell this at Target, but they also sell it on their own website. These are inexpensive makeup brushes. And I think these, as well as some of the larger sizes, like the foundation brushes or some of the powder brushes that are a little stiffer, these are so good for cleaning out your grinder. What I like to do with my metal grinders is put them in the freezer for a little bit and let it kind of solidify, and then hit it with the brush to get all the keef off the sides, and I'm the keef catcher. So don't be afraid to look for brushes in other places. And like I said, don't feel like you have to do a search for pipe cleaning brush or cannabis accessories or cannabis cleaning. Just do a search on Amazon for brushes and then, filter it down from there. These ones from Jim are bendable. They're also on a swivel, which I love. So I'm not going to stop recommending the Mile High Cleaner and the brushes that come with the kit. Those are all great. The other thing that I mentioned a minute ago was grinder. So we have tried a lot of grinders and we have a lot of favorites. The cactus cutter that we did earlier in the year or late last year. I think it was late last year. Cactus cutter is awesome. It's electric. It's the one that has the light in the bottom. It has the fidget spinner on top. Super great product. We've had a lot of people that really dug that. The Whack-It grinder, which Doug is probably the biggest advocate of other than my friend Allison. There's lots of great grinders out there if you want an electric, but not everybody is okay paying $30, $40, $50, $80 for an electric grinder. Listen, go on Amazon. You can get a coffee grinder, an electric coffee grinder for like $12 or $14. I would say pay close attention if you're going to get one of these for grinding your cannabis. Pay close attention as to whether or not the vessel that you put things in comes off. That makes it better for easy cleaning. The one that I have is very simple. There's a plastic cover for safety on top. You pull the top off and then this like metal drum detaches. And so that's what I put in the freezer when I want to clean it. But there are a gajillion grinders out there. You don't have to get a specific cannabis grinder. You can get a coffee grinder. You have an electric grinder at not so much cost. These are just, they're little things. I think my whole point is just because we're reviewing some really high-end stuff at times doesn't mean that you can't get the same results with something that's not high-end or that isn't necessarily for cannabis. And so I would encourage you, especially, if you're out shopping and looking at things or you're bored walking around a store with someone else, look for things and think about how you may be able to use them to up your weed game at home. If this is the kind of video like you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff, leave something in the comments, because I feel like if I do a sweep through the whole house, I can probably bring in lots more stuff that we can kind of talk through from Amazon. But if you don't like it, be sure and leave that comment too, because we want to make sure that the stuff that we're putting together is stuff that's valuable to you. That's all I got for you.
Hey, if you like what you're watching, hit subscribe. It's super easy. If you don't like what you're watching, hit subscribe. It's super easy. Like button, all that stuff. You've watched this far. Well, what else you got going on? I mean, wash your hands when you're done.
Gross.
Yeah.